Good evening, everyone. You're very welcome to the Canarian International Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Mossy, and I am an alcoholic.
And my name is Mick, and I'm also a alcoholics chairing secretary with Mossy. We're both serving as your secretary today. Please join us for a moment's silence to remember the still suffering alcoholic, both inside and outside this meeting.
And Kathy is doing the preamble. There you go, Kathy.
Good evening, my name's Kathy and I am an alcoholic. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is an honest desire to stop drinking. AA has no dues or fees. It is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics or organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
Thanks, Kathy. A very warm welcome goes out to any newcomers or anyone returning to Alcoholics Anonymous. And our speaker this evening is Jesse from the States, from North Carolina, I believe, isn't it, Jesse?
Yes.
You're very welcome, and thanks a million for sharing with us this evening. You have 45 minutes. And there you go, you're unmuted.
Thank you. My name is Jesse and I am alcoholic. Before I get started, I want to thank Marcy for the invitation and you all for being here with me and for me. Before I get started, I'd like a moment of silence because I need help. Thy will be done, not mine. Thank you. My sobriety date is January the 14th, 2001. I have a home group, which is the Greenville Group in Charlotte, North Carolina, United States of America. And I have a sponsor, and he has a sponsor, and I help sponsor people. I got to Alcoholics Anonymous because I kept getting caught. I'll tell you about that as I go on. I was born and raised in a two-parent family, mother, father, and I had two sisters older than myself and one brother younger than myself. When he got here, everything was messed up because I was no longer the firstborn boy. I had it going on when I was the firstborn boy. I was named after my father. I was the third. And that other baby boy came along and took all my joy. I got mad. I got a resentment because I was put on the back burner like I was a goat, put out the pasture. But in the meantime, when we were raised, we wanted for nothing, but we wasn't rich. We struggled and we made it through. I was born in the projects of North Carolina. The places I live no longer exist. I was in 3 different neighborhoods and none of them exist today. They've been replaced by regentrification, new and improved housing. I was raised in a community where I got bullied a lot. I got picked on because of my ears. I used to get picked on. They used to come behind me and thump my ears. Come on, Dumbo, take off and fly. But you know what? That put me in a position where I wanted to do something. I used to read comic books all the time, and I used to read the X-Men. And in the middle of it, it had an advertisement. Send off and buy my Get Big book, Joe Wilder, and beat the bully up. I started working out at an early age, and I developed muscles, and I started spending myself. I started getting in trouble because I was fighting. But at first, I took some butt whoopings. I took some punishment. It took a lot for me to make me fight. But once I started fighting, I think it didn't take too long before those that were bullying me, I became the bully. I started beating them up. But as I grew up, I started to learn in school that don't fight unless you're defending yourself. Just don't go around beating people. So I had to refrain from fighting for a while and learn my education. Through school, my whole life, I was always suggested be like my sisters because my sisters were A and B students. We wasn't but a year apart, but I told my teacher I can't be like my sister because I'm a boy. Oh, you want to be smart? I said, no, I'm just telling you the truth. I can't be like them. I was a C, D student, and I was happy with it. But as I grew up, I had an aunt move down here from New York City. She was a teacher when I was in the seventh grade, and she didn't like us having below grades. And she made us go to summer school to learn to write correct, to read correct, and study. I hated it, and I didn't like her. But she taught me something that carries me on through today. The cursive writing that she made us study and practice, it's paid off because they don't even teach cursive writing anymore. But anyway, after I got to junior high school, I did a lot of religious studies, different religions, and a project on different religions. And as I grew, I was made to go to church. And as I grew older and got my license, my mother gave me an opportunity. You could go to church or you could go to Sunday school, but you're getting out of here. My mind told me if I go to church, everybody going together. But if I go to Sunday school, I can drive and go myself. It didn't take long for me to figure out that if I drive and go to Sunday school, that means I don't have to stay for church and I can go get into some bedevilments. And that's what I did because I saw a lot of people older than myself go into this house down the street from the church after church. But when they came out, they didn't look like they had been to church. I was wondering what was going on in there. When I went in there, I found out what was going on. It was the after hours joint that never closed on Sunday. It was the dewdrop in, the hole in the wall, the come in as you are, and they served everything you wanted. And I went in and I got my fill. When I left out of there and I got home, I had to hide myself because I was intoxicated and I didn't want my parents to find out. Excuse me. But that was just the beginning of my problems. Because driving and drinking, that became to be the problem, really. I developed a flavor for driving and drinking. I just love driving and drinking. I mean, I get in the car, I want to be Jeff Gordon, I want to be Richard Petty. It seems like I just want the car to go fast when I'm drinking. But when I'm not drinking, I'm sensible. I guess that's where that feeling came in of being anything other than myself. I never wanted to be who I was. I was always wanting to be somebody else, no matter where I was in life. I always wanted to be somebody else. I wasn't satisfied in my own skin. Like I said, I never wanted for anything and I never needed anything, but I just wasn't satisfied in my own skin. I could see people standing on a corner, having fun, doing their thing, and want to be on the corner with them, knowing I shouldn't be there. But that's where I wanted to be because I was told, don't you go over there on that corner. That's my daddy used to tell me. If they wanted me to do something, that's the first thing you do. Tell me not to. And that's the first thing I did. I went over there and hung on that corner. That corner caused me troubles. I got into fights on that corner. I got beat on that corner. And I got jumped on that corner. But I still kept going back. It was like a magical attraction, like the pretty woman I always wanted but couldn't have. That attraction. I don't know what it was, but I guess defiance was my go getter. I was just defiant. I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to do what I was told. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it, how I wanted to do it. Because from growing up, my birthday was December the 6th. And me being born in December, I never got nothing on my birthday and it made me mad. I had a resentment. Oh, just wait. We'll give it to you on Christmas. I got so mad at that. I told them I wasn't born on Christmas. I was born December the 6th, and I was talking back, and they got upset with me, and they just told me, you be quiet. Be grateful you're going to get something. But I never got those two presents I was looking for. I got one present, and I was mad. You said you were going to. They'll look at me. You know, parents just give you that look. They don't even have to say nothing. Just look at me, and I shut up. Because growing up back in them days, they'd just tell me, go outdoors and get me a switch so I can whoop you. Y'all tell me to go outdoors and get a switch so you can whoop me. I did it plenty of times till I got tired of it. And I told them, I'm not getting whooped no more. As I grew up, my house was like a functional, my parents were functioning alcoholics. They drank and go to work and had a good time. They were functioning alcoholics. They survived. They made something of themselves while they were drinking. And alcohol was in the house like electricity. It was in every room. My father didn't have a bar, but he kept a bottle just about in every closet of the house. And that's how I got in trouble at home. I would steal his liquor and put water back in it. But as I grew older, I just started taking the bottle because I say I was defiant. And my father asked me what happened to my bottle. I don't know. Ain't nobody in this house but us. He'd tear my butt up for lying. Then he'd tear me up again because he know I lied. And I just kept doing what I wanted to do. His bottles were exciting. They were squished in and had chicken wire around it. It was called Pinch. And there was a liquor that he used to drink and mix milk with it because I never seen that before and it intrigued me. But I never put milk in mine. I just put water in mine and just put water back in his bottle. As I grew older, I got away from that liquor because I couldn't handle it. I was outside playing on this tree that got cut down in the backyard and fainted. They thought I fainted from the heat exhaustion. I was rushed to the hospital because I fainted. The doctor came out of the emergency room and was laughing. And my mama said, "What you laughing for? My son in there." He said, "Yeah, your son in there. Your son in there's drunk. He done blacked out." I was outdoors playing, jumping around logs and passed out because the heat exhaustion took me over. As I grew, I found out I had a thing for dancing. I was country square dancing. I would dance, soul dancing. I just love to dance. But I wouldn't do the ballet because at the time, they didn't have any black men doing ballet at the time, so I wasn't going to be the first. I wasn't going to get picked on again. I was already picked on for my ears. I wasn't going to be picked on for wearing lip tights. So I never tried ballet, but I did do square dancing and soul dancing, and I enjoyed it. But one thing about it, I couldn't get the girl I wanted. Everybody got the girl that was older than I was. Everybody older than I was got the girl that I thought about. And she was my age, but they liked it older men. So I never got the girl I wanted. So I never really even thought I had a chance with a girl. But this one lady came to me one day. She was a young woman. She said, "Young man, hold your head up. She's just not the one for you." And that gave me a lot of courage because she was my sixth grade teacher, but I had a crush on her and I saw her later on in life and she still reminded me the same thing. Keep your head up. That ain't the one for you. This was in my seventh grade year, going to junior high school. I had a crush on a ninth grader. And I knew ninth graders don't talk to seventh graders, but I still had a crush on this lady. She never gave me the time of day or anything. But at the school sock hops, you can pick somebody to dance with. I would jump line thinking I was going to get in front so I could get picked. I was always the last one. And I forgot my name started with a Y. And that's why I was always the last one, because you go by alphabets. But I always thought I could jump line to get in front so I could be next in line. But it never worked out. So my cheating in days, it never worked out. But I learned to do something else different. I learned how to play the music so I'll have someone to dance with. I got to play those little 45 records and the black lights, and I got to play the records, and I jump out and dance with somebody, and then go back and play another record. That way, I could dance with anybody I want to, and that became to be a part of my life. I wasn't a DJ, but I learned to play records because my mother and my father, they always had company at the house. If you ever saw the movie Aretha, when her daddy brought people over to the house, "Come out here and sing, Aretha. Come out here and sing." That's what I was. Daddy used to say, "Come out here and play that music and dance, boy. Come out here and play that music and dance." So I learned to dance quite good because I was the entertainment. I grew up around people older than me, so I used to always hear stuff I wasn't supposed to hear, but I act like I didn't hear it. So when I get back around my people my age, I say what I heard, but they wouldn't understand, but it'll be always funny because they never heard it before. It got me in some trouble because I started saying some stuff I wasn't supposed to say, like them words is MF and SOB and all that other stuff. Where do you get that from? I heard it in my house. I couldn't say who I got it from because I couldn't tell. I was growing up in the house where what goes on in this house stays in this house. Don't you tell nobody nothing. And I had to keep hold to that and I had to abide by that. It put me in a position where I saw some things I couldn't say and it weighed on me later in life. My mother and father got drunk one night and my father jumped on my mother and me being in the seventh grade or being older, I jumped on my father to protect my mother. That put a wedge between me and my father for some years. And my mother was upset with my father. She stayed gone for about a month and a half, and I was left there to deal with my father by myself and my younger sister. My older sister was gone to college, and my mother took the baby boy, so it was just me and the little girl here with daddy. Oh, it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't. We was always made to do stuff because what nobody else here to do it. He had to go to work. We had to do chores and other things around the house, but it fanned out. It fanned out because mother got convinced to come back home and everything worked out. But those years I spent being the SOB and MF because of what I did to him, it put a wedge in between us that didn't erase. But it seemed like every time I sneak a drink of his liquor, I forget about it all. It'll just leave me. I forget about it. I go and sneak a drink of his liquor and I come back out. He's gone to work and I just sit here and just contemplate on what I'm going to do to him when he come home and go to sleep. But I never got the courage to do it. Later on in life, as I grew to high school, I got interested in sports. I wanted to play basketball. I got cut. I wanted to play track. I wanted to run track. I got cut. I wanted to play football. I played JV football 1 year. Next year, I got cut. But, after being cut, I found out one thing. There was always girls wanting to go to games, and they never had a way. But I had a car. I always had a ride for the girls to go to games. And that came to be my excuse to go to games to give the girls a ride. But they were never attracted to me. They just wanted to use me for the ride. And I was okay with it at the time until I asked one of them to dance with me at a game. That didn't work out, so I just stopped carrying them around. As I grew older, I got involved with auto mechanics in school. I was mechanically inclined because my father worked at a service station, and I was mechanically inclined, and I did good working on cars. But we had a ride at school, and the mechanics teacher gave the Caucasian students wrenches to fight us with, and I didn't go along with it pretty good, but we had a big ride, and it was a knockdown drag out, and we had to ride buses from our neighborhood to the school over in their neighborhood, and we were coming back home from the school after the ride. They lined the street with those wrenches and rocks and rocked our buses. We had to take our seats and put them up against the windows to protect ourselves. But the next day, we didn't have school, but the next day we got back to school. We were ready to ambush anything and everything, but this went on for about a month and a half until tensions eased up. We got through that and we started working back together. The only thing got us together again was the sound of music, the music in the generation. Our music brought the souls back together where nothing else could. And it wasn't a funny thing because we all found out music speaks a universal language and it answers a lot of our problems. And we got over the untensioned riots by music. And we got back together as one. But during high school, I wanted to go to college. I learned that my sister was in school. She was in college and I wanted to go, but my dad told me I couldn't go. He said, you got to stay here and work with me at the service station. Come to find out, I could sign up for myself being born in December. I could sign up for myself in the armed service. When they came and recruited at the high school, I talked to the man. He said I could sign myself up. I was old enough. I signed myself up because my father told me I wasn't going to college. I volunteered for the Army. I went in on the delay entry program. When I got to the service, I was drinking Jack Daniels. And I was drunk when I left here, and I was drunk when I got to basic training. Jack Daniel became my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my everything friend. Anything that was wrong with me, Jack Daniels took care of it until it quit working. I was in Korea when Jack Daniels quit working. I used to drink Jack Daniels for any and every occasion, no matter what the reason. But I got to Korea the first time I was ever away from home by myself. I was by myself in a room full of people, in a platoon of men, and I still felt alone. Jack Daniels just wasn't working. I got in the barracks with a couple of cooks. And the cooks, the first thing to get up in the morning, they started drinking. They showed me how to drink early in the morning, then go to PT and come back. I was in heaven, y'all, because I found Johnny Walker Red. Johnny Walker was my friend. He gave me that ease and comfort of not being alone and not being shamed. When I was in the Army, I was sending this young lady money home because I was going to marry her when I got back. I forgot in basic training, they told me ain't no sense in looking around. Jody got your girl and gone. When I sent that money home to that young lady to marry her, when I got back home from Korea, my first thing my mother told me when she picked me up, I need to tell you something. I said, what's that? She said, that girl you sent that money to, she got married. Huh? She said, I wanted to tell you. I ain't want nobody else to tell you. I asked her to pull over. I wanted to make a phone call. I asked a friend to pick me up at a park. I told my mother to drop me at this park. My friend met me there. We was a high school buddy. Like say Jesse James and the gang, that was me and him. We was Jesse James and the gang. He came and met me at the park. We had a half a gallon of Richard's Wild Irish Rose wine. We drunk this wine. I got in the paddle boat. I wanted to go out in the middle of that pond and fall over drunk and drown. But that didn't happen. He left me at the park because I told him I wasn't going nowhere. I'm staying out here. I'm getting this boat. I'm going out here and I'm going to drown. I ain't going back home. They're going to be picking at me. Going to be calling me a sucker and all that. I woke up in Mecklenburg County Jail in the drunk tank. You wasn't supposed to be drinking in the park, and I blacked out in that rowboat in the middle of the pond. They brought me in. This was my this is my beginning to Alcoholics Anonymous. I woke up in the jail cell. There wasn't nothing but a Bible and a steel bed. I opened the Bible and said, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then I heard a knock on the door. Pop, pop, pop. Anybody want to go to an AA meeting? I said, what's an AA meeting? They say, if you want to go, come find out. I went to this AA meeting. There was two men that brought that meeting in this jail. I listened to them. They interest me in their story, what they shared with me, what they had been through, what had happened, and what it was like. I started following those two men when I got out of jail. They became my gods. They became the good old drunks I listened to and took advice from. I didn't follow the precise instructions of the program because I wasn't sure I was going to stay. I started going to meetings because I had to get a paper signed, and I didn't want to go back to jail. But I didn't do what was suggested, and AA didn't work for me the first time because I contempt prior to investigation. I didn't know nothing about it, and I said it wasn't going to work. And it didn't work because I didn't follow it the right way. That was my first trip to AA. I didn't come back for about 4 years. I came back in 4 years after another bout with the jail system. This time it was a DUI. Well, I was on the merry-go-round. Within 4 years, I had 3 DUIs. They revoked my license. I was put in a program, either do 6 months in jail or a year in the program. At this point in my life, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I didn't treat women right. I wasn't living right. I wasn't doing nothing right. I was a menace to society, and I was trying to kill me. I was committing suicide on the installment plan, but it just wouldn't let me die. I was in this one house with some people, and I did the same thing they did. I know this Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm going to stick with Alcoholics Anonymous. But in that house, we were doing other things. That man sitting right beside me, he fell off the stool and died, and I did the same thing he did, but God kept me here. I don't know why, but I found out later on why. I still didn't stop. I kept trying to damage myself and kill myself, but he just wouldn't let me die. I went fishing with some friends one evening. We wasn't catching anything. We had a case of pints of Richards in our cooler. Richards is a wine, and we had pints in the cooler, and there was a half a case of pints. We wasn't catching anything. We went around the Horseshoe Cove and swam back across. I myself was not going to do it, but everybody got the ego in and pushing me, and come on, you can do it. I got halfway across that cove and I went down. I was bubbling and I was calling for help. Nobody came to get me. I could see the sun rays coming through the water as I was going down. I felt a grab on my leg, a push on my leg. I came back up. They said my hat was still sitting on the water. My hat went back automatically on my head. I started backstroking. When I got close to the shore, they told me, you can stand up now. You hear, I cussed every last one of them out because my brother was one of them that was standing there and didn't want to come help me. I proceeded to go to the cooler and get another pint of wine and show you how sick I was. I'm just almost drowned from swimming drunk and go to the cooler and get another bottle of wine. That was my introduction back into AA again, because after that, I said I need some help. I came back in on my own. This time I did what I didn't want to do. I started learning to listen and I listened to learn. I took the cotton out my ears and I put it in my mouth, because the previous trips I was always telling help how to help me, but it never worked. This man told me one day, he said, if you want what we have, you got to do what we do. He didn't take me to the front of the book. He told me just to buy a book and open it up to the first page. I paid for the book. I opened it up and I looked at the first page. He said, what you see there? I said, nothing. He said, that's how much you know. We don't want you to say nothing. We just want you to learn. I said, okay. He took me to the back of the third edition of the big book. He had me read this story called Growing Up All Over Again. That story intrigued me to the point to where I was ready to take some suggestions, because in that story I read that no one could live such irresponsible life without consequences. A price has to be paid. And I was not willing to pay the consequences because of my precepts on growing up. One, Mama told me God was going to get me for some of the stuff I done, and I ain't want to have nothing to do with God. Two, the army say never surrender, never give up. And y'all came in here to say you got to surrender to win. Wait a minute, this going against everything I believe and grew up believing. First thing, surrender I couldn't do. Second thing, God ain't want to have nothing to do with. So for a long time, I had problems in this program accepting the precepts of the program. This man suggested I get this book. It was read at the time. It was called Came to Believe. I got the book and I read it. It helped me rekindle the faith I had lost when I was out there drinking. I had put God so far on the back burner, I would never pray to him. I made bargains with God. If you get me out of this, I won't do it no more. Lord, if you just keep the liquor store open until I get there, don't let it close. I always bargain with God. But this man told me, if you don't believe there's a God, believe that I believe until you learn to believe. It sounded like a novel idea at the time, but I went along with it. This man, I couldn't stand at a meeting because every time I went there, I was picking up white chips. And he told me one day, don't you pick up another darn white chip. Them things cost money. You need to bring some of them back because I would go in and out, in and out. So I went home, I got all them white chips and I brought them back. He said, you might be on to something. He said, let me ask you something. You an alcoholic? Because every time I was at the meeting, I would say, my name's Jesse. I'm all right. He said, what? I said, that's it. My name's Jesse. I'm all right. The man looked at me one day. He said, if you all right, why you here? People that's all right don't come here. You need to find out what your problem is so we can help you. He said, you need to change. I said, change what? He said everything. I thought he was trying to be smart. I took that change as I changed from slit malt liquor to O'Doul's because I was still drinking and going to meetings. I started drinking those O'Doul's and going to meetings. They told me this is a non-drinking outfit, young man. Abstinence is the key. I had to look that word up because I didn't know what it meant. He said it's a non-drinking outfit. After about 6 months of dry, drunk, not sober, because he explained to me about being sober and dry drunk, he say, you can't relapse because you ain't been doing nothing. You just a dry drunk. I say, what's the difference? He said, if you relapse, that means you was trying to do something and you start back drinking. But you ain't doing nothing. You just a dry drunk waiting to start back drinking. He said, if you want to stay sober, you got to do some works. So I took his suggestions. I got a sponsor. And I asked him to sponsor me. This man told me, he said, I ain't sponsoring you because you're full of shit. So I had to go get somebody else to sponsor me. And it took a while before I got somebody to sponsor me because I wanted somebody that I knew. Because I started going to these different meetings and I saw a friend I used to drink with and I asked him to sponsor me. He told me no too. I said, why you ain't going to sponsor me? He said, because you're full of shit. So I had to find somebody I didn't know and ask them to sponsor me. And when I asked this man to sponsor me, he said, sure, young man, I'll help you. This was the first white man I ever listened to in my life. And he didn't give a damn about my feelings. He showed me how to save my life. And that's what he told me. I don't give a damn about your feelings. I'm going to help you save your life. I've been listening to you. You got a lot of stuff you need to dump. I said, what you mean dump? He said, you got some garbage in you need to get out. You can't put this new stuff we offering you inside you with that garbage you got into you. You need to empty that out before we put something in you. He gave me a parenthesis. He said, imagine this. They empty your garbage when they come around and empty your garbage. What you do? I said, I take it and put it back in the yard. He said, you don't wash it out? I said, no. He said, don't it stink? I said, yeah. He said, you need to wash it out. That's what we're going to do to you. We're going to wash you out. And I said, how you going to do that? He said, we're going to change everything about you. I didn't buy in, but I went along because I heard everybody saying, I go to any length to stay sober, to get sober. For the beginning, I go to any length. I tried it. I didn't do it like it was supposed to be, and I had to start over a few times because I didn't do what was suggested of me. The first thing I didn't do the first step 100%. I didn't get honest about my drinking. I didn't accept the program. When I finally brought in and got honest, I had to look at me. It wasn't nobody else. It wasn't alcohol. It was my isms. Before alcoholism, I had isms. I, self, and me. And I used alcohol to try to cover it up and hide it. When I came to believe, I just thought, damn, how am I live now? I can't drink. The man say, very fine. If you keep coming, you'll get a raise. I said, what you mean? He said, just keep coming. You're going to get a raise in here. After I made that decision to turn my will and my life over to care of God as I understood it, remarkable things started happening. I was no longer acting like I was drinking. I started acting like a different person. But the problem was that fourth step, though. I heard a lot of people talking about this fourth step. So for about 2 years, I did 1, 2, 3 run. I go get another sponsor. I do the 1, 2, 3 run. I go get another sponsor. The next sponsor I got, he said, I've been watching you. You're going to do this fourth step or you're going to buy a fifth. He got me on the back of a pickup truck with a box of chicken. We did this fourth step. I started laughing halfway through. He said, what you laughing about? I said, I can't see why I kept running. He said, yeah, you keep coming back. You need this program. After I found out what was trying to be accomplished in my life, I brought in because that man told me I need to clean up and clean out. He paraphrased one step to the third step. He said, them your give up steps. You're going to give up yourself and your ways for this new way of life. Then he paraphrased the fourth step through the ninth step as my cleanup steps. I had to clean the inside and the outside because I had some things I need to go straighten out, and I was not willing, but I had to learn how to become willing to do it. And then he paraphrased the 10 through 12 as grow up steps. Man, that was a chore. But you know what? I felt better in the process because felt like a load was lifted off my back. Felt like I'd been walking around with a monkey on my back for a long time. But after I did these steps the way it was suggested I do them, I became to feel different. I guess it's all they say, you got a new pair of glasses. I started to see life in a different way. But it was a byproduct of learning to do what I didn't want to do. After all those years of refusing to do it the right way, I finally brought in and did it the right way, and I feel better today. I've come through sicknesses, and I've come through operations. I've come through parents suffering and grieving the loss of mama, daddy, sister, brother, and I still have not thought about taking a drink. That's the remarkable for this alcoholic. To go through those circumstances and situations and not think about a drink, to ease and comfort me. Where I used to use a drink to ease and comfort everything. I had this epiphany one day about holding a cup. Here's alcohol. No arms, no legs, but every time I put it in me, it kicked my butt. I used to love to fight. The fighting's over with. I ceased fighting anything and anybody today. And that's by this program. If it hadn't been for this program, I wouldn't be in here today. I wouldn't have been around for Marcia to invite me. I'd have been 6 feet under somewhere on this earth. But I did something I didn't want to do. I sat down and I listened to these people tell me how they went through certain things and didn't drink. This man told me about he went to Florida to go pick up his mother and his 2 brothers who were killed in a car wreck on vacation. He came in the meeting and shared about it for about a month. He said, I don't care how long I got to share this, but I'm going to share it until I'm okay with it. So I took this program as being able to come in here and snitch and tell what's going on with me. So I won't think about a drink. The past Super Bowl that happened, I started laughing, and I was around some friends that never saw me sober watching the Super Bowl. They said, what you laughing for? I say, early in this program, I called my sponsor looking at the Super Bowl, and I asked him, I said, what I'm going to do? They showing all these beer commercials and drinking commercials. What I'm going to do? He looked at the phone. He said, change the channel. I wasn't thinking about changing no channel. I was sitting there slobbing, looking at them drinks, wanting one. But I couldn't think of changing the channel. Now I see how important it is to have these phone numbers and use the phone. It ain't how long I've been here, it's what I'm doing now that matters today. Last night I was on a speaker meeting with a lady in Trinidad, and she said some stuff about deaths in her family and dealing with loss. It opened up a wound in me I had closed for a long time. I never grieved like I had last night over my family members when they passed. But last night, that flood of emotions overwhelmed me, and I cried for a good long while. and it felt good to get it out. And I called my sponsor today and I told him about it. He said, "Did it open up?" I said, "Man, it opened up and it pulled out." And that's my sponsor, and I was just sitting there. He said, "Felt good, didn't it?" I said, "Yeah, it sure did." And I ain't tried to snuff it down. I ain't tried to get off camera, nothing. I just let it roll because you know what? It wasn't for me. It was for somebody else that was sitting there that probably gonna need to go through it themselves. So I know today what I'm dealing with. It's not for me. It's for somebody else. What I'm going through and what you hear today, it might not be for me. Might it's not for me. It's for somebody else that's sitting there that's saying, if he can share that, I can share it too. It's all about giving today for me. When I came in here, I was a taker. Today, I don't take. I'm in a program of giving back what's been so freely given to me. And I want to thank you for this opportunity and this chance to come in and share what it was like and what happened, what it's like today. Thank you very much.
Jesse, that was absolutely fantastic. Um, right from the start, I'm a Christmas baby, and I was always shortchanged, and I knew it. I was lucky when I got sober this time, and you hit on so much stuff there. You might as well have done my chair, really. um, I didn't get a sponsor. The guy inflicted his sponsorship on me. He told me exactly what to do and how to do it. And I was told if I didn't want to do it that way, I could take my misery out of here. And but he also promised me a life beyond my wildest dreams if I'd done what I was told. And he was the man that broke the program down into a language I could understand. And step 4 and step 5 for me, I mean, you don't put pen to paper unless you have a solicitor sitting beside you. And but I was told step 4 was like going into a filthy room with a load of bin liners, and you get all the rubbish and you pile it up into bags, and you put all the bags in the corner, and you stand with your back to the bags, and the room looks really clean, except for the stuff behind you. And he said, if you don't get rid of that shit, it's going to fall on you someday. And he said, step 5, and this is the reason I mentioned it. He said, step 5 is like the bin men taking your rubbish. And he said, watch them now next Thursday when they're taking the rubbish. And that time they used to get the rubbish, put it up on their shoulder and dump it in. Do you know that way? And he said, watch them next Thursday. And I watched them, they dumped it in. They weren't checking what was inside. They weren't judging me for the rubbish. They were just dropping off the bin and going to the next person. And I began to realise, maybe I could do step 4 and 5. And I had to. I had no choice. And I love being sober. I got exactly what I was promised. I was promised a life beyond my wildest dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I had the privilege of getting to make amends to my parents, being the son that they wanted, getting the opportunity to be a father, a son, a friend, and a husband. And I do pretty good all round. So thanks, Jesse. That's enough out of me.
Thank you, Mossy. Thank you, Jess. My name's Mick and I am an alcoholic, and by the grace of God and this fellowship, I don't need to take a drink today. I identified with so much of you, Jess. As a child, I was a liar, cheat, and a thief. And when I took a drink, it changed me, and I loved what it made me into. I couldn't talk to a girl unless I took a drink. I couldn't go out with girls unless I took a drink. And I was lucky enough, I worked in a brewery and worked with 2 very heavy drinkers. And they taught me how to drink and where to steal it from. And that's what I became, a thief again, And and at the end of my drinking, I'd lost nearly everything. Wife, children, home was still here, And, and I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, and the best thing I ever done, I stayed. I came drunk and I stayed drunk for a while. And I got a woman sponsor to start with, and she was the kindest woman you would ever want to meet, and too soft for me. And I asked another man to be my sponsor, and he was one of the hardest blokes I'd ever known. not tough-wise, but on the program. And he said to me, Mick, if you want what we have, this is what you will do. And I had to knuckle down. And he was right for me. He was the right man, And by doing service, and my wife came back. She was an Al-Anon for 40 years before she died, and we used the program indoors. I didn't know what love was until I came into the fellowship. I knew what lust was, but love was different. And I learned to love her. And, I lost my parents, but I'd made amends to them. As you said, all your brothers. I've made all my amends to everybody around me who passed on. And I didn't need to take a drink. Then my wife was ill, and I was able to look after her because of the teachings of Alcoholics Anonymous. And she passed on, and I don't need to take a drink, because I look at her and she was a gift in my life. And she's still here in my head and heart. And beyond my wildest dreams is my life. I've got grandchildren that love me. I've got a daughter and a son that love me, And I in Alcoholics Anonymous, as I said, I had to learn to love me. I wasn't that bit of shit in the gutter, And today my life is good. But I keep coming to meetings, practicing what I hear. As you said, learn to listen, listen to learn. I've had all the right people around me, thank God. And a God of my understanding today. Thank you, Jess. Right.
Hello, my name's Jane. I'm an alcoholic. The promises. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realise that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled amongst us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialise if we work for them.
Thanks, Jane. And thanks, Bruce, for doing Timekeeper. Thanks for all the co-hosts. Thanks, Mick, for being my sidekick. And Jesse, thank you especially. And the yellow card. Who you see here?
What you hear here,
When you leave here.
let it stay here.
And that's it, guys. All we got to do is wrap up with this serenity prayer. And Jesse, will you lead us out? And again, thanks a million for sharing with us this evening.
Jesse, alcoholic, a moment of silence for the alcoholic still suffering inside and outside of these rooms. Serenity prayer. God, grant me
Grant us
serenity
serenity
to accept the things that
to
cannot
accept the
change,
things I cannot
change,
change, the
courage
courage to change
what
the
we
things I
can,
can,
and the
and the
wisdom to know
wisdom to know
the
the
difference.
difference.
That's
Yeah,
all.
thank
God
you,
bless
everyone.
you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you all.
Thanks, folks.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you, Max.